Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Limitless Podcast. I am super excited today about this interview that I get the privilege to share with you. I had a conversation with this beautiful woman and such a powerhouse. And I'm super excited for you to hear from her, hear her story of transformation, and really what she is putting out into the world, how she is changing lives. So allow this to be an inspiration to you. So let me introduce to you Kim Metzen. And she is just like all of us. She's a beautiful, beautiful soul, but she went through a transformation. And her transformation came from an experience that she had in her career with burnout. And through that experience, she has actually transformed her life and is now coaching and helping other women through the vehicle of burnout. And she's changing so many lives. And I can't wait for you to hear her story because I think we all suffer from a little bit of burnout at times, whether you are a young mom that is trying to balance it all. And there's a little burnout that happens with that as well with our careers. Most of us want to be that boss babe, and we don't know how to really get away from that masculine energy. And we go all out, and it's all out burnout. Isn't that correct, Kim? Welcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank you
glad to
so
have
much.
you. Yeah, so glad to have you. I would love for you to share a little bit more about you. Where are you in this world, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, that's a pretty good point, and that's why I also put this nice little background here because it matches very well. I'm in Valencia, Spain. I have the sea right here in front of me. I can see it from the window. And I think that's a big part of who I am really as well, because I've been living in so many different places and also some of them where I didn't quite feel at home, some of them where I've suffered a lot. And I think now eventually, the whole story, the whole transformation that I'm sure we're going to go into a little bit deeper throughout the conversation, it led me to a place where I really feel at home and where I really feel like I build the life that I want and that matches me and my nervous system and the kind of work that I want to do. And yeah, really the kind of values that I want to follow as well.
That's so beautiful, and so beautiful to be able to find that at such a young age. And I think that's why I'm so impressed with you is your transformation and what you've realized so early on in your years. So wise. And I know, the new ones that are coming into the world now, they're even more awakened, and they see things from a completely different perspective. But I would love for you, I love the nervous system topic. And I want to put that in the parking lot and touch on that a little bit. But I want you to really give us a picture of what your life was like. What were you doing when you were experiencing burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was working in recruitment, actually, human resources, which I guess now looking back in the first place, it's never really been something that I thought I would end up doing. I kind of just fell into it because of circumstances, internships. I already had a psychology background then, but really after my studies, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. Again, I guess I never got nudged enough to consider what I really want to do, what I would enjoy, where are my talents, what do I want to bring into this world. So I ended up in this recruitment job, which, well, if any of you have been in that, it can be very, very high paced, especially in the tech world where I was in. So I was working very long hours. I was also in a relationship that I wasn't very happy in. It was not per se a bad relationship, but I didn't really feel challenged enough, I guess. I just kind of had this gut feeling that I wasn't quite in the right place. And then also COVID hit, so I at least didn't lose my job, but it led me to work even more hours. It led me to be more isolated, work alone in front of the computer all day, every day. Um, so basically, it was a bit like I had the perfect life from the outside, right? Like my parents were happy. People were like, wow, you're making good money. You have a great job. You have a safe job, especially during COVID times. but I wasn't really happy on the inside. And so that just added up over time because I didn't really listen to my body. I started having panic attacks. I started feeling a lot of anxiety. I was experiencing a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm. I remember one day I came home from work to my partner at the time, and I was just so overwhelmed. I couldn't listen to any music. I didn't want to hear anything anymore. I needed to be in darkness. I needed to be in complete silence. And I didn't know myself. I really didn't even understand what was going on. And he at the time kind of helped me to put it a bit into perspective because he did tell me, "Oh, I think you're having a panic attack. I think you're really overwhelmed." But for me, this was just such a foreign concept because I was really, really detached from my feelings and I guess my essence. That makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And thank you for sharing really that, how you were feeling during that time, because a lot of especially the money piece, because a lot of times what happens is we're thrown into the world and we're supposed to decide like what we want to be, when we're 18 years old and we have no clue like anything that is out there in the world. But we believe that when we're making good money, that's good. We're in the place where we should be. And it's such a misconception, but we suffer silently. And that silent suffering is, because I've been through this myself, that silent suffering is, I mean, everything is good. Like I'm making good money. I have everything that I wanted. And so what we don't know how to process that. And it's such a silent suffering. And so you verbalizing that, I think it's really going to help a lot of people understand what burnout is. It's like you don't have any reason to complain. You don't have any reason to feel unhappy, except you and I both know we're completely out of alignment with what we should be doing. So thank you for that. So walk us through what happened next. Like what did you do at that point?
Yeah, I think for the longest time, I haven't really been doing anything with it. I mean, I did remember calling up the doctor and sharing my symptoms and sharing that I'm so stressed. And I think it was really just a call for help because I had no idea who to go to with this, who to ask, because most people in my environment were really in a similar situation. They were all working long hours. Everyone was stressed, complaining about work, and then going out drinking after work to kind of cope with it, right? And have some kind of fun, I guess. So I didn't really feel like I had an environment either to, yeah, to support me or to guide me where to go. And I feel like that's really the big point of this and also relates to what you just said. I feel we're really missing kind of like a guidebook on how to live life if we don't want to live life according to what society tells us to do, right? Get a well-paid job, buy a house, get married, have kids, because there's so many other versions of life that we can have. There's so many alternative options that are out there. But I think if we don't have people that show us how it can be, and that's really how I see my role now, kind of to inspire that life can also be different, that we don't have to stay in this box, that we don't have to follow this guidebook that we get from society nowadays. I think that's just a really big part of it. People are lost. Even now, I have a lot of amazing people in my surrounding, but I think guidance is really still missing, especially once we notice, okay, we want to get out of this situation that we're experiencing, this regular 9 to 5, working long hours, working jobs that don't really fulfill us.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not necessarily something bad about working 9 to 5 job, right? But if it doesn't fulfill us, if we're not happy, if we feel burned out or bored out, that's also on the other spectrum, right? Then there's very little guidance as to where do we go and how do we really find what we want to do and what works for us.
Yeah, so beautiful. I remember when I was going through this, I felt like on the inside, and knowing this now, but I felt on the inside, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not grateful for this. And that's what kept me in the loop for so long, staying for as long as I did in that space of burnout, was because I innately thought something was wrong with me, that I wasn't grateful for everything that I had. And it wasn't that I wasn't grateful. It was that when you're not in alignment with where you should be, and that's number one. And then we'll talk about the nervous system, right? And your nervous system is complete havoc. You're that's just not where you're supposed to be. And so it for me, it became a teacher. It taught me, oh, okay, there's another road here. But you're right. If we could learn that, there's so many choices. It doesn't have to be you get into a career and you're there forever and you have 2.3 kids and 1.5 dogs or whatever the statistics say nowadays. Yeah. Yeah, so I love that. So how do you work with your clients? What are some of the things that you do? What does your client look like?
Yeah, so I actually work a lot with internationals, with expats, with immigrants, because that comes with its own set of challenges, right? Living abroad, living in a different culture, possibly with a different language, adjusting to a whole new environment. So that's kind of like my typical client. Mostly women. I also work with men, but I do mainly see women. They are often more ready, I guess, for these steps or more willing to open up. At least that's my experience. And oftentimes I see clients with very similar stories, right? Like from the outside, they feel like they have it all. They feel guilty for not feeling grateful, similar to what you just explained. Or in my situation, it was more like, why can't I handle this, right? Because I saw so many people around me, they were kind of handling it. And I kept on asking myself the question, why can't I? What's wrong with me in the sense of why can I not work so many hours and feel okay about it? Um, but yeah, I work with my clients actually according to a couple different approaches. I think it's so important that we touch upon burnout from different angles. So one of them certainly is the nervous system, to come back to that. So our system is just so overstressed, so in fight or flight, that we need to first calm it down and have the stress move through the body, right? So that can be through meditation, through yoga, through breath work, but it can even be as simple as spending more time in nature, right? Or doing something with your hands. Gardening, for example, is an amazing one when you feel really stressed. Spending more or less time with your phone as well can be a very simple one. So
You
that's
know,
one.
as we're talking about this, I mean, seriously, I can feel that fight or flight just rising up in me in remembrance of what I felt. And just you talking about, how we deal with that. And I also remember during those times, didn't know I was in fight or flight. I didn't recognize that that's what it was. You're so busy being busy, you're not even tapped into your body. I wasn't even tapped in to my body at all. And once I got out of the burnout and healed and released a lot of that through my modality is breath work, and I love journaling and I love nature, and I do have a garden. I didn't know that that helped. But after I released that and can tap into my body, I mean, I can feel it immediately when it starts to rise, that I'm in that survival mode. And I think so many of us, I would love for my audience to be able to be able to tap into their body and know exactly what's going on. And when your central nervous system is regulated, it's easier to feel it. It's easier to sense it. But just that living that all the time, when you were talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, there it is. I remember that feeling. And it's a terrible feeling. Yeah.
It is. And it takes courage to sit with that, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why many of us tend to be in those busy lives as well, because it's so much easier to run away from it and not wanting to feel that. And at the same time, it's just something that they don't teach us in school. Many of us, we don't learn it from our parents either because they didn't know. But it's so important. And I think this is really also where we come back to kind of this inner guide, right? I was talking earlier about like, but there's no guidebook. And this is very much how I felt after I then left that job. And I felt so lost and I had no idea what to do, where to even start. And I think the best thing we can do as a first step is to come back to ourselves, to come into the body and listen to what's within, because there are all the answers. We actually already know what we want and what we need, but we need to learn how to access it, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So I'm the story girl. So there's a story behind everything. What do you feel like the story is behind the hustle and the burnout with your clients? Do you feel like there's a story of worth?
As in, like, how do we get there? How do we end up there?
How do we end up there?
I definitely see a couple of similar pattern in most of my clients. One of them definitely is self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
I think people who end up in burnout often over-identify with their work because
Yes.
they often use it as their single source of confidence, right?
Yes. Yes.
They have very low self-worth, and at work they get that appreciation and they get that confirmation that they're actually worthy. So they do more and more and more. And that was me too, to prove to myself every time again and again that actually, oh yeah, I am worthy. I'm worthy when I'm productive and when I'm doing well at work. I didn't understand that actually I'm worthy just by being a human being, right? And I think that's a very important message that people in that situation need to hear and to learn.
Yes. And I wanted you to say that because I think we don't recognize that that's actually what we're doing. And it's that title climbing, or that, oh gosh, this didn't really, this isn't it. So maybe this is it. So then I'm going to work harder to do more. And this will be it. When I make this amount of money, this will be it. And then you get there and you're like, okay, I'm proud of myself, but that's not it. And it's that continual climb because we're searching for our worth and value. Um, yeah, but we don't recognize that's what we're doing. We just, it's that next thing for our happiness is what we're searching for. So powerful. And I hope for all of you who are listening can grasp on to the power of what she just shared with you. So thank you for that, Kim. Yeah. Yeah. So how do you work with your clients and their nervous system? How do you teach them to tap into their body?
Yeah, so I think oftentimes it's really already, well, coming to the idea of that these are things that we need to integrate into our life. And that doesn't mean, okay, now I'm going to go on a, I don't know, 10-day yoga retreat or meditation retreat, and then I'm going to be fixed. I think it's really important for them to understand, for all of us to understand, really, that this is kind of a lifelong process. And it's a practice too. It's not like we're going to spend a bit of time away to kind of fix ourselves, because that's not how it works, right? It's more learning over the process of a lifetime to get more in touch with ourselves, with our emotions, with our bodies. So I think one important point is to find a way how we can integrate it into our lives in a sustainable way, right? So that we work on ourselves continuously, work with our nervous system continuously. And as you shared earlier, right, over time now we can learn how to listen much better to ourselves, and how we then notice, okay, now I'm in fight or flight, or now I'm really nervous, or now I'm really anxious. And then to learn how to sit with that and let the emotion be there, and then it also goes away again. I love the metaphor of a wave, for example, right? Like it sometimes comes with full power, but then it also leaves you again. So rather than being so scared of the emotion and running away by doing more, sit with it for a moment and actually see what happens, because oftentimes we get so scared of what might happen that we don't even give it a try, right? and see what actually happens, which oftentimes is not what we were so scared of. Because emotions really just stay with us for a couple of seconds. What
Yeah.
makes it more difficult is that we create stories about it, right? The mind turns on and we're like, oh my God, why am I anxious now? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? What am I going to do? I'm not in a safe space. And then we spiral and then it gets really, really huge.
It's really huge. Can you walk us through how you sit with your emotion? What does that look like for you? When you sense that emotion, what's the process that you walk through?
Yeah, great question. I think it's really just acknowledging it in the first place, right? Noticing like, oh wow, now I'm getting really sad. Similar to what we learned in meditation, right? Like I'm trying not to judge it. I'm trying not to overanalyze. Oh, why am I sad now? What is this? What is that? I don't want this feeling. I want it to go away. No, I'm just gonna be there. I will take some deep breath. Maybe I'll close my eyes and basically I wait for it to pass without trying to attach too many thoughts to it. I think that's already very powerful. And it sounds very simple, but if we're not used to that, it's definitely a practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, without judging it. Like we want to judge it. Like, why am I sad? Like, what is wrong with me that I'm sad again? Right?
Exactly. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. What is wrong? That's our go-to is something's wrong with me. I'd already dealt with this. Why is this coming back? And it's just like you said, it's a lifelong evolution process. And it's the learning of how to process that, to actually sit with it and go, okay, not go away, but just sit with it and go, okay, I'm going to feel sad. It's okay. Let's do this. And yeah, so beautiful. And it is simple, but it's not easy.
No, I agree.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think talking about this kind of belief, right, of what is wrong with me, what I found very powerful and what I learned throughout this process, this transformation is as well to sometimes ask myself, well, maybe it's not actually me that's wrong, but maybe it's what's around me, maybe it's the circumstances that I'm in. Maybe it is all this work pressure. Maybe it is the job. Maybe it's people in my environment that are not really good for me. So I think it's so important to turn that narrative around as well, right? And rather than blaming it all on me, to see, okay, maybe there's just something in my surrounding as well that doesn't quite fit me, that doesn't quite fit what I need.
Yeah. Yes. And being an empath, I don't know if you're an empath, but like
Definitely.
yeah, there are times when I'm like, I don't think this is mine at all. Like this, yeah. So I just seem to collect other people's thoughts, other people's feelings, and that has been something that I've had to learn to release that and recognize, oh, this really isn't mine. Okay, let's go through the release of that. So powerful because that's such a good point. It doesn't necessarily, you don't have, may not be yours. And that is something that we need to look at in our surroundings as well. Yeah, so good. Yeah. So when you help people regulate their nervous system, what is it that what's your favorite modality that you use?
I think it's really important to think about what works for the client, right? Because we're all very different. For some of us, meditation works really well. For others, breath work works really well. For others, it can just be looking outside of the window, right? Be away from your phone, be without distractions, but just like observe nature, observe whatever you see there. One great one for anxiety that I always love to share is the 5 4 3 2 1 method. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've heard like Mel Robbins 5 4 3 2 1, but I'm not sure that I've heard this. So yes, please share it.
It could be that one, but I think it's really powerful. It works very well for me with anxiety when thoughts are really spiraling and I feel like I just can't get out of my own thoughts. I can't get out of my own head. And it's super, super simple. You can do it anywhere. You don't need anything for it. So basically, you observe your environment and you name five things that you can see, four things that you can hear, three things that you can feel. So, for example, I don't know, the fabric of your shirt, or the sun in your face, or the wind, or whatever you have, right? Maybe just an object that you can put into your hands. Two things that you can smell, and one thing that you can taste. And by coming back into the senses, we can really very well get out of our thoughts, which are usually where the anxiety is coming from, right? It's a bit on what we touched on earlier, that story that we create in our head.
Okay, that's so beautiful. So five things you can see,
Hmm.
four things.
Four things you can hear,
Okay,
three things that you can feel, two things that you can smell, and one thing that you can taste.
that
Very simple. You can
that's
do it
awesome.
anywhere.
Yeah, I think I saw a part of that on a Hallmark movie. I think he was doing that while he was in his truck. He was like, "Okay, sit down. Five. What can I see?" He didn't go all the way through the process, but I have actually heard parts of that before. But I love that. Just brings you back to the present moment instead of,
Absolutely.
yeah, our trail of thoughts. The reason why we get so anxious is because we're worried about something happening in the future that's probably never going to happen. I love that so much. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, much recommended.
Yeah, there's so many different modalities out there for nervous system regulation. And you're right. I mean, there's what we use as coaches are typically what work for us, but there's tapping, there's meditation, there's breath work, there's,
True.
yeah, so much out there. And I think what works for you as a coach is going, you're obviously that's going to work for your clients too because you believe in it. And it's hard to recommend, when you have like 10 different modalities, which one do you choose? It's so confusing.
Indeed. And I think it's really about trying them out, right? Like there's, like you say, so many different ones. Like sometimes it already helps to just move the body, just dance, right? Even that, put on your favorite song and get dancing, or push against the wall, or have a cold shower. That's a great one too. So what I really love to do with clients is have them write a list and always carry that list with them, because whenever we are in the stressful moments, we usually don't remember them. We know, okay, we learned something there. My coach spoke to me about something, but when we're really in distress, we just can't remember. So that's kind of like the emergency list that I recommend everyone to write with the things that work for them.
Yeah, I love that so much. Yeah. So, what else would you love for the audience to know about burnout? Maybe how they can avoid it, some tips to overcome it, how to step out of it. I think that's a scary thing too, is making that step out and maybe doing something different or slowing down. What would be your favorite thing to share about burnout?
Probably that our body doesn't have this reaction, or even our mind, our system doesn't have this reaction just for fun, right? It's basically a message that our system brings to us. And I think
Yes.
that's very important, right? Because I remember for myself too, I was so upset. Again, this thing of like, oh, but everybody else can cope and everybody's fine. Why can't I? I really want to continue being in this job because that's just my reality now. And I'm so scared of what else might be out there. And I don't even know what to do. So I think just know that it comes from a place of love. Your system wants to protect you and it wants you to feel better. And it's a message to start taking care of yourself. I think that, and also that really we always come out on the other side. It might be a tough process, but I'm so much happier after I stepped out of it and started exploring who I really am and what I really want. And this is also what I see with clients, right? I haven't really seen one client who said to me, "Oh, I wish I had stayed in that job or in that situation," right? It's not always because of work, can also be, I don't know, because you're really busy with raising kids or with household chores or taking care of a parent or a loved one. I think that's important to know too, right? Burnout is not always necessarily bound to work. Oftentimes it is, but not only. But if you dare to take that step, it's actually a step to a better life, to a more aligned life.
100%. 100%. But it is, that's a tough step to take. But just like you said, 100% agree, your body's telling you something. And it's what we don't know is that when we're in that fight or flight, our body's not designed to be in that survival mode. And so you may not get ill now, but your physiology in the future, it's going to show up in the future. And
Mm.
I have seen women and men, because I used to practice medicine. I used to practice medicine years ago, but I have seen men that the symptoms of that survival fight or flight were actually in their body in
Yeah,
disease states.
yeah.
So, you don't want it to get there. You don't want to get to that point where your body's like, okay, you're not listening. Let's completely shut her down. Um, and so, yeah, it's like, it's a notice. It's a flashing red light going, okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. Yeah. So beautiful.
100%. And I think that's why the most important message really is step out of it as soon as you can, or at least get help as soon as you can, right? As soon as you notice that you're not in alignment, you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you may be depressed, anxious. I mean, it can show through so many different symptoms. But if there's one thing I would like to change, if I could go back in time, I wish I would have taken the signs more seriously earlier on because I
Mhm.
still dragged myself through this period, I think, for a year or so. And it took me years to feel better. And I really
Yes.
wouldn't want this to happen to anyone else. So if you can step out of it now, and there's always a way to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm sure you walk women through that, men and women. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me how that people can find you. Where can people find you to get more information on how you can help them in this situation?
Yeah, so the best way is actually on LinkedIn. Just type in my name, Kim Metzen. You will find me there as Burnout Psychologist. Drop me a message. I'll be very happy to hear from you guys. We can have a first chat and see if I can help.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Any last words you would like to share with everyone? Such a great conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you. Um, no, I think we touched upon everything. I guess just yeah, maybe also from my own experience. Doing therapy is great. Having a coach or a psychologist who helps you through it is great. But I think, and I touched upon that very briefly earlier on, there's so many different parts of it, right? So also take care of your body. Make sure you're moving to get that stress out in a physical way, right? Make sure you're eating a good diet, no processed food, lots of vegetables, because all of that influences our mental health, really. So that's very important too.
Yeah. Thank you for adding that. That's a valuable piece for sure. Thank you, Kim. So amazing.
Thanks, Diana.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. You guys get in touch with her. LinkedIn is her jam. That's how I found her. That's how we connected. And so glad to have a new friend. And you are doing such amazing work in this world. So keep doing what you're doing. You're changing lives. You made a difference in mine today, and I know in my audience. So, everyone, I will see you next week. God bless you. Have an amazing week. Take care.